Is it time to reveal your real magic and become seen, known, and valued? So today we're going to be talking about share your transformational stories. And if you're new to me, hi, I am Rionach. I am a deep dive visibility mindset mentor, and I love to help transformational experts, coaches, soulful business owners, and other creatives who want to overcome their fear of becoming visible and learn how to share your value, your wisdom with depth with others so you can really have the difference that you want to make in the world. And so if you're here, just say hello. If you're watching the replay, just also pop in and say hi. I love to hear from you, and I do respond and read every comment. If you're here watching this in the Facebook group. If you're watching it anywhere else, know that you can always join the Facebook group if you want to interact live with us. So last week we had a training on inviting people into your world, and I shared a little bit about this topic then. I gave you a few tips about sharing your transformational stories as one of the most powerful ways of really inviting people into your world so they get you, they feel you, they get the power of what you do. And this is particularly about inviting your people. In your transformational stories, you're never speaking to anyone. You're always speaking to your people, and they're the ones you want to invite into your world. So this is a scary topic for you. If this feels vulnerable, go back and watch the training last week if you haven't already, and that will give you some shifts as well. So what I see, is so many transformational experts who really struggle with this, with sharing the depth of what they do in a way that's tangible. And they're kind of going, I don't know how to share about it. It's so deep, it's intangible, it's a bit weird. People don't get it. It can be very frustrating. People don't get it. And you might not be selling immediate results like getting a new job or building a website. And it can feel really vulnerable. So what can you relate to here? Just, what's your struggles or what's your experience around sharing the depth of what you do, and how easy is that for you? Or, how do you find people respond to what you do? Let me see if I can see any comments here. Oh, hi, John. Hi, Leontine. Hi, Caroline. Hi, Marie-Cecile. Great to see you all here today. So let me know what's your experience around sharing your stories with people, or people getting the value of what you do, because this was a game changer for me, and I really want to share it with you because it's about depth. How do you share your depth? And I want to go through, I think there's a huge missed opportunity here for transformational experts, that we are kind of going, oh, I just don't know how to talk about it. And we're missing opportunities to really connect with the people who need us. So I want to talk about the common mistakes that I see in missing out on this opportunity, and what people are doing rather than what they should be, because it's really important to see what we're doing that could be better first. So one of the things I see, mistake number one, is we focus on our process. And those of us who are trained as transformational experts, as coaches, and maybe in other deep modalities like NLP or EFT and Reiki, shamanic work. So share some of your processes in the comments below. I'd love to hear what it is that you do. But sometimes we get so excited about our energy healing, our mindfulness techniques, about how powerful these techniques are. We just want to talk about a process. And we don't understand why other people's eyes are kind of glazing over a little bit. And unless they've trained with us, which of course then they're totally excited about it, they just kind of go, I'm only interested to an extent. They are a little bit interested. And we kind of assume that because they're not interested in our process, that they're not interested in deep work. And that is a mistake, because what they're actually interested in is the results that you get from the process. So if you talk more, because your process is about you, your results are about them. And people are interested in when you talk about the results that they can get, because then it's about them. They can relate to it, they can connect with it. So that's the first mistake. Second mistake is it can feel really vulnerable to share personal transformation stories. And often that's because we feel ashamed of having stuff and we want to show up as an expert who's got it all together and, I'm done with that. So, and that can be a tricky thing, is how do we share our process without coming across as weak or needy or vulnerable in a way that isn't, inspiring people to want to work with us. They kind of go, oh, poor you. So, and sometimes we buy into this myth of the kind of, Tony Robbins as an icon rather than as a person, of this myth of the super potentialized human being who's got it all together and can walk through fire and is untouched by life. And we kind of want to be that person before we can show up. And we don't know how to share our stories in a way that have people reach out and want to work with us. Let's say, this is why I need to speak to you. So, and this is, we want people to break through their feeling of, I thought it was just me, and ours as well. So, hi, Ruth, Carolyn, the hardest part of me is sharing my spirituality. Beautiful, great insight there. So let's explore how we can do that in a way that's grounded, and how is it that your spirituality gives you and gives your clients the results. How do you connect the two together? So mistake number one, talking too much about a process. Mistake number two, feeling ashamed of sharing our stuff. And that can also be, not just our stuff, but the transformation that it brings, because we need to share both. So mistake number three is we don't connect our own personal struggles in a way that's visible and out there in the world to what our clients are struggling with. So even though, and this is why it's such a missed opportunity, because I know you guys, if you're walking your talk, you are going deep, you are working through your own personal process as it comes up, and most of it you're working on the same collective issues that your clients are working with. And sometimes we're only a few weeks ahead of our clients. We might be a few years, but the layers come up. And when we share our personal stories of transformation, and this also works with client stories, our clients get it. They really understand how we can help them. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel that you're speaking their story. They're like, oh my God, how are you inside my head? How do you know exactly how I feel inside? And they really feel that you get them, and they realize that they're safe with you. They don't have to be ashamed of this stuff because you really get it, and it creates so much trust. So John is saying, I have so much training and experience, but still don't feel I'm good enough. That dreaded imposter syndrome. I hear you, John. It's a really common one, and this is why it's like when we really get connected to knowing that our clients struggle with what we're struggling with, we don't have to try and be that mythical, super potentialized human being. That's actually unattainable and that does not exist. And we realize that we can be, as leaders, brilliant and imperfect. And in many ways, our imperfections are what will enable people to connect with us as well. So we don't have to be perfect. And so this is really good for breaking up the imposter syndrome as well, because that's always getting caught in perfectionism. So mistake number three is not connecting our personal struggles to what our clients are struggling with, and so that they can really feel that we understand them. Mistake four, we're not using our superpower. Often, those of us who are transformational experts, who love depth and who struggle with visibility, and if that's you, you're in the right place. We have a gift for actually seeing invisible worlds. We have a gift for seeing what's going on under the surface, and we often felt that we didn't fit in. And, when we show up and actually name that, and, and powerfully name it in a way that connects with others, then we become visible with the deep stuff, with the invisible stuff, and people really get it. There's a beautiful line from a poem that I absolutely love by David White, which is called "To be human is to become visible while carrying what's hidden as a gift to others." And so what I'm going to share with you is ways to tell stories that reveal those hidden deep layers in a way that people can connect with. And this is so important now more than ever, because the world is saturated with people marketing, and people really longing for authenticity, for connection, for realness. They're hungry for stories of awakening and transformation. Your people love this stuff, really. They will read this over their breakfast, and showing the marvelous, messy wholeheartedness, that humanness that is part of the journey of transformation. They will really love it, knowing that we're all in it together, and demonstrating, this is really important, your ability to get through it. It's not that you don't have stuff, but you can get through it. That's what they really want to know. Can you get through it? And this is what creates the magnetic connection. So, and then what happens, the possibility that's here, is then your messaging, how you communicate with others, actually becomes part of the transformation that you offer. And that's super exciting for me. Then it doesn't feel like, oh, I'll go and do a coaching session and it's super deep, and then I put this marketing message out there and it feels a bit icky. It's like, oh no, this is also coming from that deep, beautiful wisdom that I have. So just tell you a little bit about my story. I began writing transformational stories about a year ago, and I shared in the group a couple of days ago one of the first transformational story that I wrote, and that's what I'm going to be talking you through today. It's my first one, and I'd finally joined the dots. I'd done creative writing, I'd done poetry, and poetry teaches us a lot about the type of language that works here as well. And I did a great course with Kate Wolf, who I think is also a member of this group, who called Story School, which I would recommend, and I will share with you a link to find out more about Kate's work later, because she does a whole deep dive, I think it's a 5-week course just on writing transformational stories. So she goes really deep into this. And one of my mentors also encouraged me to start sharing personal stories. So I'm going to share that story here just so you can have an experience of that. And then later I'm going to come back and, and talk you through exactly how it's constructed. So I'm just going to read some more comments here. Marie Cecile sharing about perimenopause. Well, I'm just at the beginning of the process with not so many symptoms. That's an interesting one. So then it might be Marie Cecile, harvesting your client stories, because that's another way. Everything that I'm going to share with you today can apply to sharing your client stories as well as your own. And yes, and Marie Cecile, they can see that the work around menopause and the taboos around it is so needed. Absolutely. And you can always find a way in to connect with that. So let me share this story. As her words sunk in, I felt tears prick my eyes. I just wanted to disappear. I felt hurt, angry, and confused. What had I done to provoke such sharpness? I got away quickly. Weeping quietly in my bedroom, I held my tender heart as I pondered our encounter. She was a friend and precious to me, and I was really upset by how she'd spoken to me. I knew we'd get through it, but first I needed to start with myself, do the deep work. First things first, I released her energy, her anger, her reaction, her projections. I cleared my energy from her, my expectations, control, neediness. Yes, that felt lighter. But I sensed there was more. Why had this happened? What was it showing me? How is it serving me? Often insights come easily. Other times I have to dig deeper. I turned towards my tender self. This was a familiar pain. I remembered harsh words exchanged at the dinner table, my 4-year-old face crumpling, too soft for my siblings' verbal swordplay. Cry baby. I remembered the pain of not being seen, of wanting to disappear. I remembered learning to hide, to protect my gentle sensitivity. Only now, I'm able to peel back those layers, piece by piece, rather than being trapped in them. Now, I've learned how to hold the hand of my younger self and help her to unfreeze. As I touched the center of this sorrow, it began to melt. Insights flooded in, and I was able to own my part in this recent drama. I saw how my comments that had triggered my friend's reaction had been tinged with fear and subtle control. I sensed that it hadn't really been the best time to raise my concerns. Part of me knew better. And I saw how my pattern of intervening and sharing my wisdom with others at times when they weren't ready for it simply reinforced my old story of not being seen. What I've discovered is that when we're inside an old story, such as I'm invisible, we tend to show up in ways that preserve that belief. I see this in myself, my friends, my clients, all the time. With my new insight, my energy lifted. Phew, clarity, relief, gratitude. Meanwhile, my friend had been in touch. She knew something was off. We had an honest, heartfelt, courageous, and vulnerable conversation to clear things up, owning our imperfections and growing edges without blame or shame. It actually brought us closer and built so much trust. I'm blessed to have such friends. And I know this process even works with those who have less self-awareness. I remember introducing this self-empowered way of relating between the women on my Embody Your Feminine Superpowers retreat. They were so grateful for permission to let go of competing, jealousy, comparison, rescuing, permission to be tender and honest, self-responsible and generous. By the end of the week, they embraced new depths of self-connection and soul sisterhood. I am so thankful to have learned these deep skills, these new ways of relating to myself and others that have opened up so many blessings in my life. And I'm committed to passing them on. Let's heal our visibility wounds and create real connection, starting with ourselves. Let's connect. Share your favorite emoji, respond or PM me. Love to connect in person. Me too. I'm giving a talk in London and a retreat in May. So that's the story. So I've just read you through my story, and there is a link in the post that goes with this video where you can read through. So when I shared this story, the response was off the charts, and you can look at those actual comments. And I began getting engagement that I'd never seen before. People commenting and feeling deeply seen. They were saying things like, "Oh, these beautiful, honest words touch the core of my being. I recognize myself in your story. I can so relate to this. They ring true for me. It all sounds so familiar to me. And it helps me to remember to listen to myself when I feel ignored and invisible. So, they really, felt that I was naming what they were feeling and walking them the way through it as well. And I actually I sent this out as an email as well as a post, and there was somebody who said, "This is why I need to work with you," and signed up as a client directly as a result of this story. So tell me, in the comments about what touches you. What do you see in this story that really connects with you? And what elements do you see? We're going to go into that next. That's helpful for you or that's inspiring for you. So Ruth is saying, thank you, your story resonates. Exactly. That's what we want to do. We want to get stories that resonate. And I'll talk you through the details. So I'm going to walk you through the language in a little while. But first, I want to just give you a few tips on how you can identify your transformation stories. So, the key here is vulnerable, real stories. They can be yours. They can be your clients. You can do an amalgamation from, people that you know. You can kind of make it up a little bit, but based on real things. But it's the real emotions, and it's the blow by blow, step by step, walking them through the real, the highs, the lows, the humanity, and the process that you use. Yes, Carolyn's saying what we do is all focus on real connection. Love it. Exactly. So if you link these stories to illustrate the key principles and practices of your work and of your personal process, this needs to be real. This is what you actually do, and the issues that your people struggle with. So it's good to create a list of topics, maybe 25 to 30 topics that are related to the work you do. And they could be things like releasing other people's energies, connecting with your younger self. It could be energy healing. It could be healing past lives. I've done stories where I track this back into past lives because I go, oh, something deeper. And this is what I found there. You can go super deep with this. Dealing with procrastination, overcoming limiting beliefs, healing, the witch wound or ancestral wounds, manifesting your vision. So you could do beautiful stories about manifesting. Overcoming imposter syndrome. So John, what do you do to get over the imposter syndrome? What's your stories around that when it comes up? This is so powerful. Especially for the people that you work with who really come up against this. And then you can kind of go each week, each month, whatever is a good rhythm for you, which one of these is coming up in your life? When you get triggered or when you get, oh, this is popping up, whether it's really dramatically or just subtly. Share the personal breakthrough stories from your life or an experience that you had with a client in a session. And how do you live your process in a way that enhances your life? It's really important to have stories that show the vulnerability, but also from an empowered place, and making sure that they're what I call fully cooked and not half-baked, which means you need to be on the other side of the transformation before you share it, and not when you're in the middle of it. Because what will happen when we make ourselves vulnerable, and sometimes we do, and it's okay to kind of say, oh, I'd like some support from my Facebook friends. I've just, lost a friend and I'm feeling sad. That's okay. You can do that too. But that's not your transformation story. Your transformation story is when you really are on the other side. You've got the insights, you have the ahas, you're feeling, you're through it, and you can talk people through the transformation. Because if you're just sharing raw, unprocessed stuff, what you will notice is that people will ask you if you're okay. They will kind of go, they'll feel the need to take care of you. And that's not the kind of vulnerability that we're looking for when you're sharing your transformation. That there's a place for that, but what we're talking about here is on the other side of it. So that's some tips for how you can identify your stories. Yeah, John I say I was the youngest of 6 kids, resonate with what's being, not being heard, and those feeling of isolation, especially in my early childhood. Beautiful. So if they're what's getting triggered, John, I mean, sometimes it's just about, sharing that, that little boy still comes up. And I know him well, and I look after him, and this is the story that he's holding, and this is how I help him get through those old voices. And it's so beautiful to be doing this with leaders, and being a beautifully vulnerable guy in the world, because we need more heart-centered men sharing these stories as well. So the next, the third thing I want to give you today is the language that you can use that gives people an embodied experience. So you've just experienced some of that in the story that I shared with you. And this is about using real, concrete language rather than abstract language. You don't need to do this perfectly, but even if it's more of this you can do, the better. And it's on this idea of show, don't tell. So tell is I'm telling you. Here's an example. I was really sad. I was deeply disappointed that no one showed up to my group program. I felt the universe didn't support me. I am telling you. Here's the show version of that story. I was in my dressing gown on the sofa with a box of tissues, sobbing my heart out all day. I was heartbroken. I felt like my dream of creating my own transformational business was slipping through my fingers. How could the universe give me this dream and then let me fail? So that's the difference between the type of language that I use to tell the same story, true story, by the way. So this is about using the emotions, the details, and the metaphor that I love to use is if I had a movie camera and I was watching you, if I was making a movie of you when you're in your process, what am I seeing? What are you doing? What are you feeling? What's your inner dialogue? So get the movie camera out when you're struggling with concrete language. So it's describing how you're feeling. And what feeling is that doing to you physically? Oh, I had a knot in my belly. It was tension. I was curled up. So the physical experiences. So what are you doing? Where are you? Are you sitting? And I was like sitting on the bed in that story. Are you standing? Are you walking? What's the voice inside your head saying? So walk people through your process. And as you would with a client. So what's your inner process? Oh, let me drop in. And feel what's going on in my energy, feel what's going on in my body. And then also, as you do so, share your insights, your results, the outcomes, what has shifted, what difference did that make? And link it back to the principles you use with your clients. Share the results they get. Their results, their outcomes. So if you say, I got this insult and I love doing this and I use this with my clients all the time and I love the results that they get. So once you talk people through the story, you can show them those results and then share your gratitude for having these practices and results. Share your vision for what the world would be like if more people could experience these results, and invite people to imagine such a world. And then invite people to, depending on where you're sharing this, invite people to share their experiences with you. Invite them to engage, to respond, to share their story, and also then have an invitation to go deeper with you. This is why you want people who are going to work with you. If this touches you and you want some support, here's the next steps that you can take. So in the story that I just shared with you, I started in the middle of the story. As our words sunk in, I felt tears prick my eyes. I just wanted to disappear. So I jumped into the middle of the story. And this is where if you start, in the middle of the story, the heat of the action, where the emotion was, that's when people will actually want to keep reading. Because they will feel, oh, this is real language here. This is something real being shared. It's the heart of the story. You're showing what you're feeling, what you're seeing. And then share the inner dialogue. What had I done to provoke such sharpness? This is my inner dialogue. I got away quickly, weeping quietly in my bedroom. I held my tender heart. I'm showing you what I was doing, what I was physically doing, and how I was feeling. And then you're giving a context. She was a friend and precious to me. This matters. And I was really upset. This is how I feel. I knew we'd get through it, but first I needed to start with myself, do the deep work. So this is where I'm sharing my process. I'm walking my talk and I'm saying, this is how I get through these transformations. First things first, I released her energy. I cleared my energy from her. So I'm sharing my process and I'm sharing the depth of my insights. So yes, that felt lighter. Get results. But I sensed there was more. So this is where we sometimes need to go deeper. There's a depth of an intuition. So people are also getting a feeling that you know your stuff here. Why had this happened? What was it showing me? How is it serving me? So I'm revealing my inner dialogue. I'm revealing my process, which is something that I would always also use, with my clients. And so you're walking people through step by step through your process. I turned towards my tender self. This was a familiar pain. So turning towards the tender self, the younger self, my 4-year-old self who was crying at the dinner table, that's connecting me with the emotional heart of the part that's holding that pain. So that shows my process. It also, shows the emotional heart that's going on. I remember the pain of not being seen and wanting to disappear. This is the insight. This is the heart of the trigger. I remember learning to hide to protect my gentle sensitivity. I'm revealing my process and people are going to relate to this so much. It's really, and only now, in my story I'm saying, now I'm able to peel back those layers piece by piece rather than be trapped by them. So that goes from, yes, I'm sharing my vulnerability, but actually I'm capable of holding space for this now. So this actually shows my journey. It actually shows my expertise, my authority. It actually creates a lot of safety because people feel like, oh, you can hold space for yourself. I'm not asking them to hold space for me. I got it. And it shows that I can actually hold space for them too, walk them through the transformation. And then the insights flooded in. I could own my part in the drama. I saw what I had done to create this. And the insight was also that how I was showing up was reinforcing my story of not being seen. And then I'm sharing my insights. What I've discovered is that when we're inside an old story, such as I'm invisible, we tend to show up in ways that preserve that old story, that belief. I see this in myself, my friends, my clients all the time. So again, I'm showing this is what's underneath the transformation process. It's demonstrating my expertise around this topic, that I really know what I'm talking about here because I have gone very deep around this issue. It's showing that we're all in it together and that I get it. And people, this is when people kind of say, oh, I need to work with you. That's exactly what I need. Or they will say, you need to go and work with Rionach or with whoever you are, because people will really feel your expertise through this story. And then you talk them through the transformation. And then, in this story, I also said my friend had been in touch. She knew something was off. There was something magical that happened. And that because I had done the inner work, then what manifested in the outer world was a coming together, was a deep conversation, was a deepening of trust. But doing this inner work comes first. So you're demonstrating the results. And then the gratitude. I'm blessed to have such friends. And, this process works. And then I'm talking about how I introduce this process in my retreat and how the retreat participants and the clients, they were so grateful to have permission for this new way of being. And, the results that they got. At the end of the week, they experienced new depth of cell connection and soul sisterhood. So that's beautiful. And then, I'm committed to passing these on. Let's heal our visibility wounds and create real connection, starting with ourselves. This is me sharing my vision. This is what's possible when we do this work. This is an invitation to the value of the transformation that we offer. What would our world look like if we heal this stuff? And then I'm inviting people to connect, share your respond. And I'm also inviting people to join my talk and join my retreat. So they're the kind of key aspects of the story. So this is a lot of information that I've just shared with you, and I hope this is valuable for you. What can you see now about how you can write a transformation story and to identify your own story? It might feel scary or vulnerable, but start small. They can be little stories. And if you need some support, with visibility blocks, if this is really an issue for you, reach out for support. I'm happy to have a chat with you. But I would love to, let me just see. So Vlada saying I wasn't heard and I was shy due to bullying. And now I meet people that are going through the same. So sharing of different languages, expressing in words. Not easy for me to express my story through words. Well, I hope this will give you some words that you can connect with, Vlada, to share your story. So I'm going to give you a little challenge this week to write a story post. Put this into action. Write a story post. Share it in this group. And if you're feeling really brave, share it on your own page or profile or other platform, and then share the link in here. I would love to see your transformation stories and see you put this into action. So, and if you need some help with doing this, if you feel like, oh, that's too much, reach out, let's have a chat, and let's see if I can help you with those visibility blocks. And I will also share with you, probably later today, how you can access Kate Wolf's Story School, who goes really deep into this as well. I will also probably be doing something on this when I launch my group program later this year. But Kate is a real master of this and goes very deep into it. So that's it for today. Let me know if you've got any other comments or what you're taking away from this, and I will pop in and respond to all your comments as they come through. Okay, bye for now, guys. Take care.